A big component of this film moving forward is trust with these characters. Trust for who you know, trust for who you don't know, and how that forms their opinions moving forward and how that forms their mission. Dip into, I guess, the character and the trust or distrust and how it helps create who they ultimately become moving through the trilogy.
Wow.
That's a great question.
Thank you.
That's a great question. Truly.
I feel like best question so far of the whole tour.
Classic Bill
Yeah.
Donnelly.
Excellent.
Oh,
Well, certainly it was something that was developed in the first movie, and between all the folks that were stuck in the maze, they had to question even Teresa's arrival. I mean, it was like, is there something behind this? For me, it's a great piece for my character Jorge, because I mistrust anyone who comes into my area because they can't be trusted. I've been able to solidify a place that's safe, and once you let someone in you can't trust, then the place becomes compromised. So, but for me, it's great because it's my character arc, is to learn how to trust Thomas and trust these young gladers that they really are looking for something that's real, and to make a decision to help them or not. But it starts before that, in the maze.
Yeah.
And I know that maybe Dylan could speak to that.
Yeah, it's the whole first movie. I mean, and kind of how we're introduced to these kids in the first place. Everything's based off trust when you have no memory, and that trust becomes very instinctive, kind of, and primal. And I think that's the family spirit that these movies have, and that these kids have, the bond, the group mentalities. It's all based off trust with one another, and feeling safe, and like you need to protect one another.
I trust Jorge. That's like he's my focal point. I don't branch out from there because of the traumas of the past, from my brother getting taken away from my parents. Dying. It's from all of that trauma, I just became very jaded, and I have one partner, and that's it. And I think there's a scene later on in the movie where I sort of open up to Dill, and I think that's the step. That's that first huge step. I mean, I'm learning to trust someone I've never met on this crazy, epic journey, and I think it all culminates in that moment where I'm like, this is why I'm like this.
Well, there's an aspect of it that is, in the maze, it's about survival. Here it is, they don't know where they are, they don't know why they're there, especially in the first film. Here it's a little bit more mutual benefit. How even if it's somebody that you distrust, there still is a level that you have to take that step because this is beneficial to me, this is beneficial to you. So there's a very, it's like a survivor kind of aspect.
Your intentions supersede your doubts.
Exactly.
Where did you come from? Where are you going? And what can you do for me?
Yes, very much.
But again, trust has to be earned. This has so many great elements in this film in terms of, morality. Not only trust but hope and change. It's the struggle to try to realize something new. It brings a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. But how do you learn to trust someone that you don't know? Yeah. And that you don't know what their intentions are?
Second legs of trilogies are key to the overall arc, because the first film, obviously, you're building a foundation, you're creating, you're starting to lay who these people are, and obviously the finale, you can bring it all home. The middle part, that's always the key, because that's where the story is, that's where the emotion is, that's where everything is. What was it about SCORCH Trials that you found to be a really strong key middle segment to help carry the whole thing?
The reason I signed up for these movies was because I knew what would happen to my character in the SCORCH Trials. It's what motivated me from the beginning. When I first sort of found out about it, I was like, oh, young adult thing, I'm going to be the love interest and nothing's really going to happen. And I researched it a little bit, and I found out that she has this amazing meet in the middle of the story where she kind of goes against the grain and she shocks people and she learns to trust her own instincts and what she believes is right. And I love that, and I love that Wes has really kind of you know, he's not just done a middle movie. He's really decided to put all the time and effort and energy into making this a standalone movie, but a really, really key part of the 3 books and the 3 movies ultimately.
There is a sort of a Empire Strikes Back-ish element to some of this, because there are some twists. These 2 characters have very much a Han Solo, Chewbacca-ish kind of.
Absolutely.
Not to point fingers at who might
I'm
be.
Chewbacca.
But you know, and that's Empire Strikes Back is kind of a gold standard for trilogies, especially the middle segment. When you're kind of moving through, and obviously when you're signing up for these, are there elements of other trilogies that you look at? Not necessarily in the characters, because you know, it's Wes's direction and his vision, and also what comes from the page. But I guess in terms of how the characters develop, that you're not going to formula, but you're seeing certain things previously that may have worked, and also things that may have faltered in the past.
I don't think about it because I'm just so ignorant about remembering. You know, I'm a filmophile, but remembering every little bit of it. And then our characters come into this right in this middle movie, so we're sort of thrown in. I think I've been informed a bit by the books. And it's so interesting what you're asking and what you're saying in terms of this movie is the grounding factor of the whole series. I think is very fascinating and interesting. But
And to touch on that and that previous question, you have a huge responsibility when you are entering, you know, when you're jumping on a moving train. You know, like, you want to do a great job just because you're a professional, but you also want to, it's a respect thing. You respect the first movie so much, you want to live up to that challenge, and you also want to, you want your characters to come in there and excite, and it's a huge part of that, you know, sophomore slump, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
You want to stand up for the right reasons. You don't want to be the one that's like, why did they introduce this character now? That is all bad.
Right. And I think it's so awesome that every single entrance of every character in this movie, I mean, like, when Teresa shows up, it's just like every character, you're like, whoa. You know, like when Thomas, I mean, the first movie starts with Thomas's arrival. It's all about these amazing introductions to these peoples in this world. So, are you getting a call on your Nextel? Or? No? Okay. You're fine.
yeah, you want to add value, and you want to be able to extend the story. You know, it's sort of like a stage play. You know, you don't want to be on your own. You want to be part of the group, and so you want to add value to everyone's story. So it can be jarring if the wrong person is in, you know, maybe the wrong role, that they don't really have that mentality. Thankfully, this is a family of really, really great filmmakers, actors and actresses who have that in mind. They want to bolster this story.
And there are no extraneous characters in any Wes Ball anything. Everyone's there for a reason. Like, you don't see like a raccoon coming in like, hey, and this is why this happened, bye. Like, no one's introduced and then all of a sudden they're just gone. Like, it doesn't, that's not how it works.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.